Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So today we're talking about how to write an outstanding and compelling motivation letter. Some people call it letter of interest. So the idea is that the motivation letter complements your CV, and then beyond just the numbers, beyond just the where, when, and how in the CV that have no much detail, you need to attach a motivation letter which would give more appealing information about your interests. As a disclaimer, I have to say that I've never worked in any admissions office or administrative units at all, so I wouldn't say that I'm an expert, but I'm speaking from my experience, of course, as a person who has applied to some institutions in the past, and of course as someone who has been able to get one of the very competitive scholarship that brought me here in Germany, for which I'm still studying. So straight to business. So what's the motivation letter? A motivation letter complements a CV. So the idea is that you have a CV. The CV just highlights information about like your education, your work experience, maybe if you have like done some publication in the past, or you have some projects ongoing, just to tell like the reader where you are on, and you know what you've been up to in the past. But the motivation letter is more descriptive. It gives more idea about your person, you know, more than just saying I'm a bachelor degree holder. You can give context to what you studied during the bachelor degree program, and how it relates to what you want to do here in the master's program, and of course like your future. Yeah, so it's just like a cover letter. So most times when you apply for a job, besides your CV or resume, you always need to accompany a cover letter, which also gives like just like this a detail about the job you're applying and why you're a good fit for this job. So what is a motivation letter? Well, in a motivation letter you're expected to give unique reasons why you're applying to this course. The truth is that even though it's a particular course, and the university will be expecting, or in most cases depending on how popular this course is, could be receiving up to 500 applications, it is not expected still that two motivation letters are unique. Why? Because we have different motivation, we have different reasons why we want to study a particular course. And so if I'm motivated to study economics because of my experiences in my homeland about people's like poverty experiences, hunger issues, it shouldn't be the same experience for a person who is speaking from a more developed context. So this is why I say that even though it's the same course, your reasons should be unique. And even though there are two people coming from the same background and they have their own experiences coming from like the environment, it's also a case that the way you write it, the way you put it down should be unique, because we don't always think alike, you know. So and this is the reason why it is expected to be unique regardless. Yeah, and of course it's also a profile check, because they use this to also, you know, see more details about you, what you've done, and how you can actually be able to link your past with your present life, and then also give some projections about what you expect in the future with regards to your career. So this is also another interesting information that the motivation letter gives the reader. Next, it also allows you to express and give more context, like I've said earlier. And also a motivation letter, which is an application document, is also the first test of your writing skill and your ability to think critically. So when we write our CV, we are so quick to say I'm a critical thinker, which is something that is, you know, supposed to be like a good qualification for a person who's going for a master's degree or bachelor's degree. But the truth is this: being a critical thinker is beyond just writing in words. It's about putting your thoughts together critically, knowing how to write a letter in a way that it is quite convincing, knowing how to write within limited space, and putting the most important information forward. So these are the things that are tested indirectly. So even though the main aim is to actually know who you are, understand your personality, but they also test your ability to write, because at the end of the day, you'll be in the uni and they'll be grading some of your test scores. And also, for example, master's program, most of the time you start writing 10 papers, could be like in form of writing. And so you find that if you don't have good writing skill from the get-go, then you have less chances to do well. Yeah, and this is why it's also a key pointer to your writing skill. Having said that, I'll just go straight to the structure of motivation letter. So typically a motivation letter, I would say, have 5 main parts. The first is your personal information, and next is your address. So you have the address of the writer, and on the other side also you have the address of the recipient. Of course, it's your duty to Google the university to get more information, go to their website, understand like the address. The person receiving this letter, most times it's a department, and some other times it's a person. So it's best that you do your own findings, do your own research, and know who you're addressing this letter to. Yeah, so this also sends a pointer that you are a serious student. You're prepared for the journey ahead of you. Yeah, so next is the salutation. Of course, you have to greet, then we'll go to the main content, and finally the complimentary clue. It's important to know that you need, number one, a very interesting opening or introduction. The truth is that people, if you try to Google about writing motivation letter, there are very, cliche ways of starting things like this, but it's always more interesting when you find something, when you can find a story that aligns with you. And this story has to also be related to what you want to do, like in the school, what you want to study, and not just what you want to study, but your career path in the long term. This personal story, this personal introduction gives more concrete, concrete. I suppose I have to pause. Yeah, this personal introduction gives more deep connection to the motivation letter than when you just start, with the cliche beginnings. You know what I mean? And next we have the body, and in the body you're supposed to give details about your motivation, like the reasons why you want to study this course. And well, there are different ways to go about the body. Now, one might start from where he is now, your present now, but then connect it to where you were, what brought you to your present. When did you find that spark? When did you know that this is what I should be doing today? Yeah, so that is like you connect backward from your present to the past, and then you talk about how this links to your future. So this is one way to go about it. But somebody can simply just say, oh, it started from this, the past, which is the past, and link it to the present, and then project into the future. For example, I'll give an example. You could start by saying, today I consider myself a renowned economist. Yeah, so that's who I am today. Or you could say, having garnered 4 years experience in research. So this is talking about my today, but after giving more details and more context about who I am today, I could also go back, in the next paragraph to say, the decision to build a career in economics was born out of my experience in. So that way I'm linking backward to where this connection started, where I got the spark, where I knew that this is what I want to do. And then I project into the future. Yeah, so this is actually very important when you write a motivation letter, because it allows the reader to have a consistent flow. Don't forget, you're not the only one applying for this course, especially if you're applying to a high top rated university where people are, from all over the world. Sorry, excuse me. When people from all over the world are interested to study, chances are high that you need a very competitive motivation letter, a motivation letter that would make the reader think about you even when he jumps to like 5 other motivation letter afterwards. He's still thinking about, wow, that girl is really motivated. That's the impression you want to leave in the mind of the reader. So after the main body, then we'll go to the conclusion. Therein, you try to summarize, and then you give more detail about what this course of study, if given the opportunity to study this course, what do you expect from it? What do you expect your future to be, having gone through this course, having gone through this training program, whatever? Giving an idea, giving a summary about it, even though you're projecting, because you are not yet in the future, but it's expected that you should have an idea of what this course can offer you, the opportunities it can offer you. And for you to have all of this idea I've been talking about means you need to do good research. Good research. I'll come to that in a bit. So that is in terms of structure and particularly the content and the body of a motivation letter. I would like to give some additional tips which I find very, very important with respect to writing. And these tips are actually also very personal to me. They were tips that I actually used while writing my motivation letter that landed me the DAD scholarship. But besides that, this is always my everyday tips because I do writing a lot. So this is my everyday tips for writing, and one of it is this, the most important. So if you want to write a motivation letter, usually when you go to search for a course and you open up the page, you find the course, the requirement to be able to be admitted to the course. You find the of course, that's where we get things like the motivation letter, your transcript, the seminar results, and the likes. So there, the motivation letter, most of the time, the university spells out some questions they expect you to answer. Questions like, why do you want to study this course? Why do you want to study at this university? What, blah, 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 blah. So these questions are supposed to be the guide on how to write the main body, that's the content of the motivation letter. Now, it's best that, for me, what I do is I just copy these questions word for word from the website, because I don't want to paraphrase and miss out some important information. So I just copied it and I paste it on my Word file where I'll be writing the draft of my motivation letter. These questions, you should make them a bullet point, and each bullet point, you should put them together, group them according to how they relate, and be able to make paragraphs out of this bullet point. So provide answers accordingly based on this bullet point. So the questions could be 10, but you're not expected to get 10 paragraphs just in the body of the work. So it's expected that you regroup them to maybe 3 paragraphs, and then you're able to answer these questions accordingly in a very comprehensive way and in a logical flow. You get what I mean? So that's supposed to be your first guide in writing the content. But next is that you need to do further research about this course. You need to go to the course and look at, for example, the course content. What makes up this course? What are the courses you'll be exposed to? I believe as far as the department or the faculty or the university have a website, they would provide detailed information about the courses. It could be in form of a brochure. It could just be, sometimes I see this thing, it's just like an Excel sheet where they write how many courses you take per semester, this is where you should pick these courses from. So you see this list and you can have an idea about what your course content would be like. Also, another thing that can give you pointer to information about the universities, most university also have like a short interview of students who give their experiences and the opinion about the university and the course. This is also another place to get a lot of information that can guide you on writing a motivation letter, especially when the information is given by foreigners. Because of course, if you're watching this video and you're a foreigner, then you want to understand it from the perspective of a person coming from abroad. So this is also another place you can get good information about the course. Of course, you can also follow the social media handle of this program or the university, and then you can get also good information about this. And some universities also write like potential career opportunities after studying their courses. This also give you a pointer to where you can work, like I talked about, projecting what you can get from this course. So from this part of the website, if you do your research, you can get, if possible, place where students from this program get a job. Yeah, so besides this, you should also make good research about the university. It's in most universities in Germany, for example, are highly ranked, at least falling between 30 to 50 in the world ranking. And it's usually important that you highlight this. You don't want to be applying to a university that is maybe ranked as a second, especially maybe for a particular course, they are ranked second best, for example, in Europe, and you're not even highlighting this. It's important to know these things, and you can get this on the university website, or even on Google can tell you this. So it's important to know the rankings. Also good to highlight maybe the location of the university. For example, I school in Göttingen, and Göttingen is the central part of Germany. So it's not far north, it's not far in the south, it's just in the center. And this is a very good advantage for me because, for example, going to the north, I'm in the middle of the country. Going to the west, going to the east, it's so easy to navigate. And this is an advantage. And it will make sense to read a motivation letter of a foreigner and see this kind of information. It just means that this guy has done his research. This guy has done his own work. And it says a lot about the person who is applying to the institution. Yeah. And of course, if you're a foreigner, it's also good to highlight the reason why you want to study in Germany. Importantly, pen down your thoughts. Pen down your thoughts without constraining the word limit. This is something I always do. And I don't only do this for writing motivation letters or cover letters, but I do this even when I'm writing like a term paper in school or paper for publication. Because most times your brain, sometimes you're in the mood, you get all the spark, you get all the ideas, and if you don't put it down, if you're waiting for the best time where you can structure it together, you might forget some points. So what I try to do most times is I just pour out my thoughts in a piece of paper, like in the Word, and then I think about structuring it later. It helps you not to miss out on some important points. So at first, do not consider word limits. Just pour out as much as, especially after doing your research about the school, because by then you have a lot of ideas in your head. Next, there's need to always check errors and abbreviations. When you write an informal letter like this, you don't want to be seen writing in informal language, with abbreviations. You have to sound very formal. And so I know that there's tendency to, when you read something over and over, you look at something for a long time stretch, you get so used to it that you can't catch simple mistakes. So what I also do is I take breaks. Like, for example, if I have to get my motivation letter out in a week, for example, I try to work on it the first 2 days, take a day off, take my mind off the motivation letter or whatever paper I'm writing. I take my mind off entirely, and then when I revisit it in the third or fourth day, I could even get fresh ideas, and then I look at it again as if it's new, and then I can spot errors and mistakes, or spelling errors to omissions to, but most times when you type so fast you skip some words, so this you can spot when you revisit again. Also, It's important, even after you have done your part, to share your work with some people, trusted people who can help you review them. So the truth is that no matter how, well you think you've written a paper or something like this, a letter, you need somebody to proofread it. Yeah, there could also still be some errors, or he could point you out to something you didn't think about. So I remember when I also wrote my motivation letter, I was in contact with a guy here doing his PhD. So I sent him my motivation letter and he read it, even though he didn't point so much, but he was able to like even say, oh yeah, you're in the right direction. And I think just after I had sent mine for him to proofread, that he sent me his own motivation letter, which he used in getting the scholarship he used in going to the UK for his master's program. And so I was able to now read, and that is another good idea I'll give to you. As much as you have people around you who have written motivation letters and have succeeded with this motivation letter, do not be tempted to read their motivation letter without first writing your motivation letter. Yes, the reason is because the more you expose yourself to people's writing, you tend to write in their style, and this doesn't give you that uniqueness you want. So it's always best to put, like I said, put down your ideas, put down your thoughts, and then go to do further research, or like give it out to somebody to help you proofread, and then start reconstructing it again. Yes, so this is the best way, I think, in terms of my own tips, the best tips I can give you on how to write a motivation letter. So stick around. In the next video, I'm going to be presenting my motivation letter that got me the DAA, the scholarship of which I'm studying in Germany. Now I'm going to be reading it for you live with reference to these structures and general tips that I've given in this video. So thank you so much. Like, if this video is interesting to you, please just subscribe immediately. I'm giving so much tips, so much insight, information, and the tickets you need to study abroad in one of the best and your favorite university you can think of. Thank you, and bye bye. Choose.